I have done something that to my knowledge nobody has done. I made a theory on A Bug's Life, the seemingly most insignificant movie in all of Pixar. And let's be real, it kind of is, but that doesn't mean that within the plot of the movie itself, there isn't a theory to be made. In this video, find out who the true villain of A Bug's Life is, what Hopper's real motives are, and why the Queen's poor leadership and failed promises to Hopper caused the entire colony to suffer under his oppression. First, you'll probably take notice of the fact that these ants are heavily personified and don't behave the way normal ants would. They walk on two legs, create inventions, and most importantly, have leadership in the form of a queen. And this queen functions not just as the mother of the colony, but as an actual monarch, with the next generation taking on the role of queen after she dies. So that means that she has actual political power within this ant colony, and exists as the head of their government, with no opposition whatsoever. We can also see that the colony has a council that makes decisions. This council is made up of Princess Ada, Thorny, Dr. Flora, Mr. Soil, and Cornelius. But I would assume that these ants were appointed by the Queen and are still very much within her control, especially going off the fact that this council is led by Princess Ada herself, the next in line to be queen. So now we've established the scale of her power within this colony, but that still doesn't necessarily mean that she's a villain. From what it appears, she doesn't abuse her power, and she does the best she can for her colony. But I'm about to prove why that's actually not the case. If you've enjoyed this video so far, a like would really help out the video. Anyway, back to the theory. During the scene in the beginning of the movie when Hopper confronts the Queen, he acts almost as if he's entitled to the food, not just because that's the way of nature, but almost as if this colony of ants owes something to him. And that's because we aren't shown the full story. It's implied that this has been going on for years, and these ants have a long history with the grasshoppers. So then it leaves you to wonder how this all started in the first place. Was the colony forcefully taken over by the grasshoppers, or was there a mutual arrangement between the two parties? Well, we actually get our answer in an overlooked quote from Hopper.
Listen, if you don't keep your end of the bargain, then I can't guarantee your safety, and there are insects out there that will take advantage of you. Someone could get hurt.
He's actually implying that this is something the ants agreed to, not something forced by the grasshoppers. These ants provide food to the grasshoppers in exchange for protection from bigger bugs. And ultimately, the decision to accept that offer would fall on the Queen, which therefore makes her the cause of all of the suffering that her colony goes through to double their harvest for the grasshoppers. And she not only agreed to this in the first place, but even insisted that they keep up their end of the bargain after Flick dropped all of the food into the river and they didn't even have enough food for themselves. And while she overlooked her colony dropping unconscious, what did she do? Absolutely nothing. Even after Flick proposed the idea of creating a bird, she never supported it and even went as far as accusing Flick of putting himself before the colony. Which is complete hypocrisy considering the fact that she puts herself above the entire colony and views her worker ants as disposable labor. But what I find even more interesting is the fact that she never supported the idea of fighting off Hopper in the first place. When the council makes the decision to let Flick find bigger bugs to fight the grasshoppers, the Queen is clearly surprised and doesn't agree to this. And why wouldn't she? She has nothing to lose. Except for that deal with Hopper that she made all those years ago. And while yes, she did initially appear to support the idea when Flick arrived with the warrior bugs, she also couldn't publicly admit that she didn't like the idea of fighting Hopper off when she sees that the entire colony is clearly in support of it. You can tell that she probably knew from the beginning that these weren't warriors, and it was only a matter of time before the colony figured out. So instead of taking the blame herself, she just waited until the truth came out and then placed the blame on Flick and got the whole colony to turn against him. You can just hear the sarcasm in her voice the moment she meets the warrior bugs.
Well, my boy, you came through. Afy and I are very impressed.
She knew the plan would never work, and that's why she stayed silent about it. As for Hopper's intentions, he explains that his grasshopper gang doesn't even need the food anymore, and they have more than enough. He instead looks to keep the ants in line and limit any ideas that the ants might have to rebel against him. It would only make sense that he looked to eventually take over the colony himself. That's why he plans to eliminate the Queen and proclaim himself as the new ruler of the colony. Because remember, the leadership of these bug societies function as governments, and the grasshoppers taking over the anthill is essentially the equivalent of a country overtaking another country. Anyway, let me know what you think of this theory in the comments, and while you're at it, why don't you go check out this video about what elemental will add to the Pixar universe. Thanks for watching, and bye!